Hello again. One of the oddest things about Britain today is how often I seem to end up speaking to foreigners on the telephone. This is really not something which used to happen all that often, or indeed at all. At one time, the only way that one would end up speaking to a foreigner on the telephone would be if you dialed a number in Berlin or Dar es Salaam. These days it can happen quite routinely if you ring your doctor or even your bank. Let me give two instances of what I mean. I suspect that many of those watching this will have had similar experiences. I had occasion a few weeks ago to ring my bank because I wished to discuss something involving probate. I need hardly say that my call was not answered from the local branch of HSBC, but rather by somebody in India. The person who answered the phone had a strong accent and I struggled to understand her. She seemed to have trouble with my accent as well. Her English was good enough, but it soon became clear that she did not understand words such as probate or executor. This rather made the whole conversation pretty pointless. I have no doubt at all that her command of the English language was sufficiently great that she would have been able to order a meal in a restaurant or hold a conversation at a party, but it did not extend to technical terms relating to finance and banking. This really is a problem when you want to discuss particular problems which require a knowledge of such words as probate. I'm pretty sure that any clerical worker at a bank in Britain would know what the word signified, but it was too much to expect some random Indian to be familiar with the expression, let alone be able to answer specific questions about it. I perfectly understand why businesses hire people in India, China or the Philippines to answer telephones in this way. It's cheap. Fair enough, I get it, but this is no good for the customer if one is unable actually to obtain useful information in the course of a call to such a place. I cannot resist telling an anecdote at this point about a friend of mine who had bought and insured a dishwasher which then malfunctioned. She rang up to make a claim and ended up, of course, speaking to somebody in India. The person at the other end of the line, when told of the problem, insisted that she must have the wrong number. They didn't deal with personal insurance at all, only that for domestic machinery. After much irritating conversation at cross purposes, it transpired that the person in India did not actually know what a dishwasher was and had imagined it to be an employee in a kitchen whose job was doing the washing up. This kind of thing can be a nuisance, but it's not really dangerous. The same cannot be said of the increasing number of doctors in this country whose command of English is not up to scratch. Again, I get why we are seeing so many foreign medical staff in Britain. Training doctors and nurses in this country is very expensive and takes many years. Far easier and cheaper to poach doctors from the third world who have already been trained at somebody else's expense. There are several problems here though, not least the fact that 2/3 of the doctors who were struck off in Britain were born abroad. I've mentioned this in a previous video. A more common problem is that an awful lot of them, like those working in Indian call centres, have a good enough grasp of conversational English to buy something in the supermarket or order drinks in a pub, but their vocabulary is not really extensive enough for them to understand what patients are saying to them when they're describing their symptoms. This really can be a grave hazard. A short while ago I had an odd growth on my shoulder. It was like a small scab with a bristle in the middle. Just on the off chance that it could be skin cancer, I rang the surgery and of course couldn't see the doctor, but was promised that he would ring me. He duly did so, and turned out to be a locum from the Indian subcontinent, with halting and heavily accented English. I had told him the problem, upon which he asked, "What is bristle?" Now, I'm pretty handy with English words. I make a living from using them and arranging them. But thinking about it, I could not find a word which conveyed what I meant other than bristle. There's no synonym. I tried hair, but of course hair is soft and silky and floppy, whereas a bristle is stiff and a little sharp. In the event, it was nothing to worry about, but I can't help but wonder how many people have had problems missed because of language difficulties of this kind. This isn't a rant against foreigners, but I've noticed that one time in my life one seldom met a foreigner in Britain, but that these days every other person with whom I come into contact seems not to be British. It's a definite change, but one which we are, I think, supposed not to notice. Even the word foreign is no longer used in polite society. We talk instead of things being global or international rather than foreign.